Welcome to Leadership from the Trenches with Mike Berry and Nicole Swan.
All right, welcome everybody to Leadership from the Trenches. I'm your one of your hosts, Mike Berry, and I'm here with Nikki Swan. Nikki, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nikki Swan. I'm a principal consultant with Peridot Circle Consulting. I'm happy to be here.
Great. And I'm a trainer with Red Rock Research, and we have today for you Mike. Mike, can you say your last name for us?
Lanzarotta.
Lanzarotta. What an awesome last name. Very Italian. It sounds like
It is very Sicilian. We won't split hairs.
Great. Well, we're glad you're here. Mike comes to us from a rich background of, boy, a combination of a lot of things. Engineering, military service, leadership. He's worked with defense contractors and done a lot of that electronics work. And let's see, is there anything I've missed with that introduction, Mike?
Business
No, you got it.
ownership.
Defense and commercial aerospace.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us briefly about where you're from originally.
Well, originally I'm from everywhere. I'm a Navy brat, so I grew up all over the place, but we settled in Utah. So I'll say Utah is my home state,
Okay.
and from that point, I've lived in California, Utah, but as an adult, but ultimately settled back here, moved back here, as much as I love the beaches in California, there's nothing that beats the mountains, and the clean mountain air when we're not in inversion. So,
So
but
tell us about your service. What did you do in the service?
I was a fire control technician, so I maintained the radar systems, navigation, computer systems, and the weapons control and release systems on the F-14. So I maintained all the radar, all the avionics, basically, that made the F-14 as great as it was. And I was part of the integration team. So after the Navy, I worked for Grumman. And I worked in the F-14 labs where they actually did the hardware and software integration as a technician at that time. So I was part of the F-14Ds, the last version of the F-14, that whole life cycle of improving the A to the conversion to the Ds, the digitization of the systems, getting to play with all of those sensors live because we transmitted into the Pacific Coast, the Pacific Missile Test Range.
Wow.
It was a great job. It also got me into flight tests because now they had to fly the stuff that we were integrating in the lab. So I got the opportunity to go work with our orange suits, our flight test pilots and backseaters, and they would not allow any Navy people to touch their aircraft. It all had to be Grumman people.
Wow.
So they roped off the planes, and we did our ground test before we launched the airplane for their missions and stuff. So it was a great job. Northrop took us over. I lived through that, and then spent most of my time in flight test and working integration IPT. And then the F-14, as we know, was mothballed. I hate to say that, but and so there was a massive rift that led to retraining for a lot of people. I got retrained as a networking administrator, and felt that that wasn't my thing.
Yeah, after improving F-14s, I'm sure that was quite a shift.
It was the attitudes were more of the shift than anything, I have to say, but it was a shift, and I really didn't feel comfortable in it, and so I improved my skills elsewhere, and then there was a life change, like we mentioned, and I moved back to Utah, and after a couple of jobs at Autoliv and some other places, I ended up at Parker Hannifin and served as a engineering technician engineer for about I guess out of that 15 years, about 9 of it, and I acted as the project manager for the engineering lab, set up all the metrics, tracking all our projects, and then moved into lean. I really just got turned on by lean, and it just clicked with my brain, and I made that my career path.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And learned I couldn't move into operations it's tough to move into a lean position when you're in engineering. So I needed the operations background.
Okay.
So that led me to leaving engineering and going to operations as a production manager. And I did that for a couple of years before COVID hit, and then the mass rifts started and became part of that.
Yeah.
So
you've given us a lot there. So let's talk about as you move from engineering. Did you have any management positions in kind of the latter part of your engineering work?
I was a lead engineer for the electro. We didn't have an EE for many years, so my experience carried us into that. Myself and my colleague, there was only two of us that ran that entire building, 2,500 pieces of equipment, test equipment.
Okay.
On top of all of our new program developments. The Gulfstream 7 G7 just got its certification. I was part of that years ago.
Wow.
G650, and then there was Bombardier 7,000, 8,000. So I was involved in all that integration, helping build test equipment, design circuit boards for that test equipment, running the LabVIEW software programming.
So tell us about, you talked about after having a heavy career experience in engineering and technical, maintaining all that stuff, designing all that stuff, operations side. You said lean really turned you on. Can you talk about more about that? What's
Sure.
lean, everybody, and what value did you see in it?
Well, there's great value in it. Anytime you can remove waste from any process, increases productivity. And but I think what clicked with me more than anything was how it meshed with my brain. Is I always thought lifelong, why do we do things this way? So the process side of me really started to kick in. Why are we're just jumping all over? We're not following any processes, any SOPs or anything. So, so it just, because of how my brain is, it just flowed with me about let's set up a process. Let's do this correct. If we're going to do it, let's do it correct. And let's be visible and transparent about what we're doing. So I took all that on myself. There wasn't too many people in the engineering lab. There was 7 total, only 2 electronics. It was really, this became a leadership situation as well, to get buy-in from other folks. And that became really a key factor moving forward, and a leadership quality that I had to develop. Change management is a thing. I learned that before I was put into any operational situation, just trying to get my own, the guys in the team that were with me, just to update the team improvement board was like yanking a tooth sometimes. And the mentality is you're trying to get rid of my job. And I think that's really, every team that I've met with, done Kaizen events, it's like, we've done this. You guys are just trying to get rid of our jobs. Like, no, we need to run more product through the lines. We're trying to give you more overtime if you need it. So lean and removing waste and learning, doing the like the Kaizen events were amazing. I had some successful Kaizen events.
Kaizen event for the listeners that don't know what that means.
In lean, the just in time, the whole TPS system. Kaizen event is an identified task. It's more than continuous improvement. This is a funded task where we're going to put money into this to figure out how to fix this flow of this cell, to remove the waste, and then start getting standard work together. So now you're doing motion studies and you're trying to figure out how much movement are we clashing in our movement, to try to calculate your cycle time for that whip. As we know, the longer you're on whip, the worse you are. So the whole idea is to find out what we as managers can do to help our teams move that whip process down, to decrease that time in whip, to move to the next phase. And I just loved it. So
Why is it so valuable to decrease WIP, work in process, to decrease it? What's the value there?
Well, labor for one, you're putting more time into a task than you were allotted for in your build sheets. So it makes you more productive. You're keeping up with the schedule that tells you got 4 hours to do this task. It's getting you through that task as efficiently as possible to meet your deadlines and meet your output. So it hits the bottom line directly because you're freeing people up. If you're doing this correctly, you're actually freeing people up to take on more work. Or now we can look at that process. How can we make it better now? How can we, as we have customers on both sides of us, upside and downside. So how do we serve these customers? What can we do to help? To move product through here? So it becomes a group think in that cell, or how do we do this and not mess up our output, but to make it better, to speed things up, to make our quality better. And at the end of the day, it's about quality. It's about we talked about cars. You just don't. That's a naughty word to throw around. A corrective action report is not a good thing. So lean helps with a good portion of that as far as your processes go. But Six Sigma kicks in when you have problems with a part. That's where I think the separation between lean and Six Sigma. Now you're focusing on quality control. You have a QMS that's driving all of that. And you have engineering QEs coming down. They're doing engineering tasks. And
Mike, can you tell us the difference between lean versus Six Sigma?
I think go ahead. I'm sorry.
How are they different?
I think lean is more of a blanket, the umbrella over processes. It's the physical process of everything moving through as efficiently as possible. Everything working together, receiving things on the same day you need it, getting it outputted in the time frame, and meeting your numbers. Six Sigma is really about verifying your process, verifying the issue that you're having with a part. And that's done through gathering data and looking at and Paretoing out all these errors that are coming out. So the big difference to me, lean is more output focused, efficiency, less waste, output focused. Where it's not as quality oriented as Six Sigma. Now you're diving into the part. Why is this part out of control? Why do every 5 parts a part goes out of control? What's happening in our process? So statistically, we look at that and do our Pareto's, our histograms, regression testing, FMEAs. So that's really the quality side of that part. If we have a part that's not moving through that cell, we got to figure out why it's not moving through it.
So Mike,
go ahead, Nikki.
I have a question. Can I jump in? I'm going to take us off track just a little bit, but I want to pull a thread that you mentioned a little while ago and that I was interested in. You have such depth of knowledge and ability and passion and value that you add in working through these processes, the analytical vision that you have. And you talked about getting buy-in, right? Influencing so that decisions can happen within your organization that you can see, because you have all these tools and this knowledge and you're able to see what needs to happen, right? You just have this vision that's extraordinary. What have been your challenges in doing this and how have you overcome it? I'm thinking specifically about kind of managing up, getting influences above you, helping those people to see what you see and make decisions you need to make, especially if we don't have the budget, right? I'm sure you heard that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I ask this because I work with technical individual contributors and technical leaders who are hitting these roadblocks all the time. I think it's something that really is quite universal, and it sounds like you've been able to navigate it to some extent. So tell us how you have succeeded in that front.
Well, in every situation like that, and everything is situational, and it really depends on the team that you have. But what I've seen is there's always pushback. The folks that I grew up with in the ranks, and some became my team members after I promoted. But being able to um, address the uncertainty, I think, is what it comes down to. We as humans, I believe, and a lot of this is opinionated. We as humans need certainty so we can move forward with, thinking that everything's good. So I think we interject in uncertainty to our teams when we're saying, hey, we got a continuous improvement task that we're going to implement into the cell, and there's a lot of pushback. Well, if we do this, then how many people are you going to get rid of? Because, Mike, we know we've gotten rid of so many people. Mike, this never works. These are things that I've heard. Mike, we've tried this 14 times. It's never going to work. I have found, and I mentioned it once before, being data driven removes the idea that I now have to come up with some reason other than the data. I don't. You let the data, what's the song? I write the songs that make the whole world sing. Well, that's what the data tells us. It's showing us where we need to point, where we need to focus on. And then I use that data to show the teams. And then I challenge. I've had pushback about this technique, but I challenge the folks that push back. I don't tell them they're wrong. I ask them on a sidebar. I don't do this during the meeting because I don't want to put anybody on a spot. I will take them aside and say, you have some great ideas. Why aren't we need to implement these? Let's throw them out there. Let's talk about it. Let's brainstorm it. That's what we're doing. And let's see if we can get it to work. You have all these ideas. So I've had some success doing that. And because you start seeing in those meetings, that person now is asking pertinent questions, and it becomes all of a sudden there's a change. There's a mindset change because now this person that everybody's listening to is now communicating. I think we just talked about those side communications. People are hearing that, and that turns the team around. So, and it gives you better visibility with management. So they want the data, they want the graphs. My bosses wanted graphs. So I showed them on the graphs what we were doing and what I was doing with the team. So managing change is not easy. There's always pushback. There's always really from my perspective, it's what we're doing to increase to figure out how we can run more product through the cells, how we can are we going to change and turn you into a flow cell? So
with the teams, what have you found that helps with management?
High performance teaming. I was trained thoroughly on high performance team. As a matter of fact, I was not only trained at it, I was trained to teach it. I have the teaching manual here somewhere around here in my office.
Give us some highlights.
So high performance teaming is a big deal. And a lot of the communications that's covered in our PMP classes have been right out of high performance teaming. And I believe
let me interject just for a sec. Mike has attended several of my PMP classes, and that's when he keeps talking about what we've talked about before. That's what he's referring to. Is we just had one this week, actually. Okay, go ahead, Mike. Continue.
So where was I? Just lost it.
High performance teaming.
So being able to build the high performance teaming gave you the tools, I should say. But I will say this about high performance teaming, and I've said it a lot to whoever would listen. Before you can have a high performance team, you have to teach people how to take constructive professional criticism. The fall apart where I see and have seen high performance teaming fall apart is there's just not enough training to be, what's the word, the emotional intelligence.
How do you teach that? I'm inferring from what you're saying that you as a leader encouraged that in your team and helped them to develop it. How did you do that? That's hard to do.
It is, and it comes down to Storm and Norman, and that you got to go through that whole it can never get there until you go through that process. That it is so key to that. You have to understand different personality types, how to communicate with those different personality types, and encourage those folks. I mean, rewards always help, but being there and encouraging people, encouraging your team, letting them know that you've got their back. And I think that provides the certainty, is that as long as, you know, the difference between, I think, a good leader and a bad leader is a good leader just come and pile drives and does nothing to really explain to you, this is why we have to do this, folks. You know, we've got mandates. I have mandates. Those just flow down. So that's what we're doing. And I'm just honest with people. Workers aren't as unintelligent as many folks might want to perceive them as. The grapevine is a real thing. And if in that grapevine will show up in your teaming, because, well, I heard this and I've heard this, but the amazing thing is how accurate the grapevine really is. That's always amazed me. How did you guys know that? I just learned that yesterday. How did you guys know that? So the grapevine is there, and so it's a matter of channeling that. I think motivating folks. Look, this is what we're going to do, and you know, we get done here, we're going to have a pizza party. We're gonna celebrate this, but let's stay focused. And
can you talk about the difference between a manager who has their team's back versus a manager who doesn't? What do you see? How do you see that different?
I think this kind of a hit on project management, by the way. I've had many project managers that try to circumvent the production process. And if I allowed that to happen, my team would not believe that I had their back. Because they were being pulled off task that they're getting questioned and challenged on. How come you're behind? Well, because project manager from this guy came down and asked me to do this. Well, our policy is I make that decision, so you refer them to me and stay on task. So I had to have many conversations with program managers or project managers in that regard, that you simply cannot go down into the cells and start mandating that these guys have to work on your parts. I have to put those into flow. I have to manage that flow of product. And my team, my supervisors, I had 6 supervisors that worked for me as well. I had 87 people at one time for about 6 months that worked for me. It was, it was challenging, to say the least. But it's really about being honest and being relational. I think if people can talk to you, I felt, and this is going to sound strange, I felt if my team could joke with me, could poke me, that I had done a good job, and they had no problems with joking with me and poking me. But they were motivated. They had fun. They laughed about it, you know. And as far as, and they weren't insulting me or anything. It was just giving me a hard time. Well, I didn't mind that. I didn't give them a hard time, but they were comfortable enough to shed some of that skin and be accessible, I guess, by doing that. And I think because it's those folks that come and grab me and say, Mike, I have a personal problem, you know. And when you're a manager, you have to be able to handle that in an extremely private way, and be respectful of that. But that gets around if you're just not there for your people, and I won't call them what did we say, we're resources, or
don't use that word.
Don't use that word.
People have skills and time that are resources, but people are humans.
They are people, and people have feelings and opinions, and but I think knowing that I had team members that would approach me with with issues spoke a lot about having some trust in their management and in me. I saw managers that just had zero. They just could not handle the personal part of the job. I'll give you a great example. My last job at as a defense contractor, as a PM, a project manager. Within 2 weeks, I was asked to take over. I've been there about 6 weeks. Within about 2 weeks, our engineering manager noticed us. Hey, Mike, I'm leaving. I put in my notice. Okay, so when you leaving? Tomorrow.
Oh,
my
wow.
goodness.
Today's my last day. And oh, okay. So the program manager approached me and he said, you have quite a background. Would you be interested in taking on the role of engineering manager? And I'm okay. So he said, before we do this, let's talk about engineers and my lack of an engineering degree. Engineers have, their brain is they work with engineers. And I asked him, I said, do you feel that'll be an issue? And he looked at me and he said, in 6 weeks, you have done what I haven't been able to do in 7 months. He says, those guys just, when you walk in, those guys just kind of gravitate to you and they like to talk to you. I noticed when you're in the room, those guys, everybody's upbeat and talking to you. And he says, I don't have that ability, but you do. So he said, so he handed me over the engineering reins, engineering management reins, and
what,
and I did.
What do you think gave you that? What was your mannerisms with the team that made them so comfortable around you?
Gosh, I can't. Just being real, I guess, personal. Talking about myself. If you humble yourself and you make yourself a little bit vulnerable, I think people see that. I'm going to say this because I don't believe in it. I've heard it and seen it on job descriptions. A servant leader, I don't believe in being a servant leader because you can't. You serve your bosses. As a manager, I know it sounds great, but as a manager, you're tasked with the strategy to implement strategy tactically. So, I want to be a servant leader. I want to lead my folks and I want them, but I can't, I can show them a path to success for their career, but I can't walk it. It's kind of that. So as far as being a servant leader, I think that misstates what a manager's purpose is for. We all know that what human resources is there for, and it's not for the betterment of the employees, it's for the betterment of the corporation. Managers are tasked with the same thing. We have to toe the corporate line, and that can be a challenge because the people on the floor know what's going on, and so you have to formulate answers that toe the line but don't put them off as well, and that's really a tough thing to do, especially when they know there's a rift coming, and they all do know there's a rift coming.
Were you physically with them on a daily basis, like in their pods with them and around them all the time?
All the time. My first 2 hours had to do all my analytics, but I usually when I got done with my analytics, I had about 45 minutes before my status meeting with staff, and I went through all the cells, talked to people, see how they're doing. If they just got back on vacation, talk to them a little bit about their vacation and how it was. And when I went through the cells, and I never went through the cells and started picking apart the issues in the cells. That was just a complete, how you doing today? Glad everybody's here, smile, it's not all that bad, that kind of stuff, just being there and visible and not talking shop really at that point. And that was a quick walk through the cells just to be visible. It was later on when I would show up at the boards that they're at the TIBs that were, okay, it's time for all of us to circle around and start answering why we didn't hit our numbers yesterday.
Yeah, Mike, I think that's great, and I congratulate you for your success in that area. I've observed that managers that are with their people kind of like you said, kind of joking, being personal on a regular basis, is huge, just huge for the relationship. And sounds like you figured that out. Well, very good. Wish we had more time, but that's kind of it. So we really appreciate your insights, and you gave us some really great things to think about.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's exciting. When you asked me about this, I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." But it was fun. I appreciate it. Anytime, be happy to do it again.
Do you want a minute to talk about your business? Tell us what your business is. Plug your business.
Yeah, my business, Upshot GPS. I am a SaaS consultant, and I set up CRMs for people, customer relationship management software, Salesforce, but I do it at the small business, medium-sized business level. I used to do creative for people myself. I built websites and Photoshop, and I've gotten out of that just to manage the projects now, and to start talking to people about their business systems, because whether people realize it or not, small businesses need systems, a business management system, and that's what I sell on a smaller basis. But I have partnered with, and I'm trained through a company called Pipeline Pro. I'm a certified partner with them. So as well as me managing current programs that companies have, small businesses have, mainly real estate brokers, as I manage that. They don't have to use my stuff. I can just be the face of technology for people. People are scared to death of technology. It is amazing to watch.
I am
in
too.
that realm.
I'm a computer guy.
So, yeah, I mean, some people are 50 years old, never turned on a computer.
Oh, wow.
There are 40-year-olds that have never turned on computers, and that just, so when you talk about this, it really puts people. So I'm that face. I'm the person that you can come to and ask questions to about AI. I do engineering prompting or AI prompting, generative AI. I am truly a geek. I don't do coding. But I can throw APIs together and do some generative stuff with AI. I'm fully subscribed to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So, and I myself offer an AI marketing system. So it's exciting. I love the product. I love I've used it for 4 years. I was part of these guys when they first launched, and they've turned into a $10 million company.
Wow.
With users all over the world, and they're like, so we're offering this to some people that we feel might be good at this, because it does take time to learn the backside of that technology, and I just grasp onto it. So so that's what I'm doing. I set up people in their sales funnels, and I have a team that builds their landing pages, and I even have ad copywriters that can write killer automated emails. So it's all about marketing automation, which I'm huge.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Fun.
Well, Mike, it sounds great. We're out of time. This was really a pleasure talking to you. And
it's a pleasure to meet you, Nikki. It's a pleasure, and always a pleasure to see you, Mike.
Yep. Very good. All right, Nikki, I think that's a wrap.
Okay, it's a good one.